Hey, what is up guys? Joseph here, and this is the video that I've been building up since last Thursday. It's finally here. My top 10 movies of all time.
Number 10
is the original Star Wars. In my opinion, the greatest summer blockbuster of all time. It has comedy, action, adventure, fantasy. It has a little bit of everything. The story of Luke Skywalker, who's an unlikely hero, goes off to fight the evil Empire. It's got great characters. One of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen from start to finish.
Number 9
This is the final movie in one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Part of me wants to say the greatest movie trilogy just because the first one was great. The second one was even better. The third one was near perfection. Like with every movie, it just got better. Really, I can't say that for really any other trilogy. It has everything that made the first two great, plus more. The only thing that it doesn't do better, it comes very close, but the battle. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, having the best battle in fantasy movies, but battle with the elephants and the dead. That battle came close, but Battle of Helm's Deep just edges out that battle. It's called something, I know, I just can't think of the freaking name. Great performances by pretty much everyone. It definitely deserved the Best Picture win. Tremendous effects. And I forgot to talk about the actual music behind the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The music, the score, awesome. I completely forgot to talk about the music and the freaking Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings. Jeez. The Lord of the Rings had great score, so did Star Wars. Trailing back to Star Wars just a little bit. Star Wars had a great score too. So many other movies on this list. I completely forgot about to talk about their music.
Number 8
The last romance movie on my list, Casablanca. Near perfect movie. No movie is perfect. I'm sure if you do some heavy looking, you may find like one tiny little detail. Pretty much everything in this movie, the writing, the acting, the directing, the chemistry between Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, fantastic. Hey guys, I couldn't figure out a way to phrase the story of Casablanca in a way where it wouldn't give anything away, so I just decided to read off the summary off of IMDb during the editing process. That way where it wouldn't really spoil anything. In Casablanca in December 1941, cynical expatriate encounters a former lover with unforeseen complications. You guys should definitely put this on your watch list.
Number 7
My number 7 is a movie that if you've been around since the beginning of my channel, you know how much I love, and that's The Silence of the Lambs. Great performances from pretty much all across the board, especially from Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling and Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. I don't remember how long ago it was when I watched the movie for the first time, but I remember being legit creeped out by Anthony Hopkins. The story is essentially where Jodie Foster plays Clarice Starling, an FBI agent, and she's assigned to the Buffalo Bill case, but she has to seek the insight of Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is a former psychiatrist, and he's also a cannibal. But if you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs, I've talked about this movie probably since I started YouTube. Silence of the Lambs is definitely one of my favorites.
Number 6
Schindler's List. Very tough to watch. It deals with the Holocaust and it doesn't hold back. Probably the most realistic movie that I've seen that deals remotely with the Holocaust. The first time I watched Schindler's List was about like 6-7 years ago. Even now, because I rewatched it because I had to. And it's a great movie. It's an amazing movie. It's like that emotional source material that is very tough to watch without looking away. There's really only 2 movies that I've had a tough time watching. 12 Years a Slave and Schindler's List. The story, Liam Neeson plays Oscar Schindler, who's in charge of running an ammunition factory for the Nazi party. Liam Neeson plays a Nazi. Liam Neeson's character, Oscar Schindler, who this is also based on a real life, goes from being a guy who, just like every other Nazi, hates the Jews to becoming several hundred Jews' savior. And I'm not talking about like a religious savior. I'm talking about like a physical life savior. Great performances, well directed by Steven Spielberg, which I find this interesting because Steven Spielberg had done Hook. Because of the material that was in Schindler's List, it was so depressing that he had to have like therapy and call Robin Williams after a day of shooting to have Robin Williams make him laugh. That's how depressing Schindler's List is. And I'm not trying to convince you not to watch it as like you don't want to be depressed or something. It's a good movie. I think everybody should watch it at least once. I'm not gonna like torture you to watch it more, but at least once.
Number 5.
It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this is another movie where I had super high expectations of going into it. It exceeded my expectations. James Stewart plays depressed. He worked in some kind of like bank or something that deals with money, but he falls on hard times due to the Great Depression. He wants to commit suicide. And this isn't really a spoiler because it happens in literally the first 5 minutes. And then afterwards, he's saved by his guardian angel, and he finds out how his life would have been if he wasn't born. Highly recommend It's a Wonderful Life if you haven't seen it already.
Number 4.
The Shawshank Redemption. Tim Robbins plays as Andy Dufresne, who is a man who was falsely accused of killing his wife and the man she was cheating on him with. Morgan Freeman plays his really only friend in the prison, and it becomes this like inspiring movie.
Number 3.
The Godfather Part 2. Great performances from everybody. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall, John Cazale, Talia Shire, Diane Keaton. It's essentially the story of Michael Corleone's rise as the mob boss, and it gives backstory on young Vito Corleone.
Number 2.
12 Angry Men. A near perfect movie. Young Puerto Rican adult, like around 1920, accused of murdering his father. Basically, the 12 members of the jury trying to figure out and trying to come to a unanimous decision, innocent or guilty. I'm not going to say whether they find him innocent or guilty. You'll just have to watch it and figure it out.
Number 1.
And my number 1 favorite movie of all time. The Godfather. The Godfather is my favorite movie of all time. I've watched this movie I don't know how many times. More than Star Wars, more than Lord of the Rings, more than pretty much every movie on this list. The performances from Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, Talia Shire, James Caan, Robert Duvall, fantastic. The iconic moments that happen in this movie, near movie perfection. The story, the acting, the effects. It's the story of what would you do for your family. The music, everything about this movie is pretty much perfect. The makeup was fantastic because Marlon Brando was a lot younger than what he looked like. The Godfather is personally my favorite movie of all time.
Alright, that's it for this video. Be sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. What are some of your favorite movies of all time? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like me on Facebook at Jamax97, follow me on Twitter at Jamax97, links in the description below. Nice shot.